This week we're going to read two Torah portions, Nitzavim and Vayelech. Now, Nitzavim is always read before the Jewish New Year of Rosh Hashanah. And on Rosh Hashanah, the awesome day of renewal of creation, day of judgment, we have a fascinating, chilling insight of Rabbi Isaac Luria, 16th century Kabbalist, who said as follows: any person who does not cry on Rosh Hashanah and Kippur has an imperfect soul. Now, what does that mean? Well, Rabbi Isaac Luria is a Kabbalist who always emphasized the positive. He wasn't talking about crying because, you're worried you've sinned and you're not going to live out the year, or there's going to be some tremendous punishment, God forbid. That's not what he was talking about. He was talking about tears of joy. The tears of utter exhilaration that we feel of the tremendous, tremendous privilege of being able to embrace God's presence and to connect to Him through the commandments. It's rather similar to what it says in the Zohar, in the Medrash Hanelim. The Rabbi Akiva, when he would learn secrets of the Torah, new secrets from his teacher, he would cry because of the revelation. So this Rosh Hashanah, in addition to thinking about the renewal of creation, in addition to thinking about the Yom Din, the Day of Judgment, why not focus for a change on this third theme, that of revelation? It's a day of great revelation, a day when what is going to be revealed to us for the whole year is in essence revealed to us in one moment. And therefore that is a reason to cry, to shed tears of joy. Now, chapter 30, verse 2, we have this idea that we should return to God with all your heart and all your soul. Now, we are at the dawn of a new era where global consciousness is flowering, where dysfunctional cognitive patterns are gradually fading away due to tremendous spiritual and mystical insight, which is budding, and it's soon going to take over the whole planet. This is the last generation that before what mystics believe is going to be a new era of global consciousness and health. So it's really, and at that point, reincarnation won't occur again. Once the world has achieved its tikkun, its correction, its final healing, our souls won't have to come back again. So there's a tremendous, tremendous importance. You've got to get it right this life. You need to return to God always. Throughout all the generations, we need to be close to God. But there's this tremendous importance that this time around, we need to get it right, because there's not going to be any more reincarnation. We're going to enter the new era very soon. Now, chapter 30, verse 19 says, I have set before you life or death, blessing or curse, choose life. Here we have a clear indication of a fundamental biblical idea of free choice. Human beings have free choice. Where does this come from? So the Kabbalists explain, and this is an insight of Rabbi Isaac Luria, that God's two names, which he's primarily known through in the Torah, are Havaya, which I'm actually going to say the names because they're so sacred, we don't like to pronounce them. Havaya is the tetragrammaton, Yud and a Hey and a Vav and a Hey. I'm saying it backwards to avoid saying in its sanctified form. And then we have the name Elokim, which means judge, literally, but it's a name which Kabbalistically we understand God is using when he's dealing with the world. The laws of metaphysics, the laws of physics is the name Elokim. But when he transcends that, when he breaks the rules which he himself created, we call him Havaya. We use the the essential name, the tetragrammaton. Where does free choice come from? It comes from the four-lettered name. Because according to Elokim, according to God's name as he's manifested in creation, in nature, you can't have free choice. Because everyone is being manipulated by forces beyond his or her control. We have our own disposition physically. We have a spiritual disposition from our soul. We have astronomical influences from the stars. We have other spiritual influences from the worlds above us. We're enmeshed in a complex system, a kind of physical and spiritual ecosphere where everything has causes and influences above it. So really, technically, it's impossible for a created being enmeshed in all this to have free choice. So God has to break the rules. He has to use his four-letter name to empower humans with free choice. And that is, interestingly, why we find this expression. It's used in the Babylonian Talmud, in Tractate Brachot, page 8a, the 4 cubits of halakha, of Jewish law. Why is it that when we are observing the Torah, which tells us to choose life over death, why is it that when we do that, we're considered to be using something that possesses 4 cubits, a kind of very strange physical expression of a spiritual idea? So the answer, says Rabbi Isaac Luria, is because your ability to choose good over evil, your ability to choose life over death, comes from God's 4-lettered name. And that is why that is alluded to in the Talmud, that when we're exercising that choice, we're considered to be dabbling in the 4 cubits of halakha. Moving on to the next Torah portion of Vayelech, chapter 31, verse 2, Moses says, it's now the end of Moses' life, and he says, I can no more go out and come in. What is this talking about? Literally, it's talking about as a warrior, that he can no longer lead armies out or bring them back in. But Rabbi Menachem Nachum Twersky of Chernobyl, 18th century Chassidic Rebbe, gave the following insight. How do you grow in intellectual or spiritual maturity? How do you pass from one level to another? You have to go out and then come in. Going out means shedding your preconceptions, shedding the restraints in your cognitive mind that are preventing you from taking that leap to the next level. There's a reason why you can't go up and reach that new plane of insight, and that's because you're trapped into a narrow vision of perceiving things. And that's what Moses said at the end of his life. I can no longer come out or come in. To come in, to reach new levels of insight, to reach new levels of inspiration and perspective, you need first to go out of the previous ones and come in to the new level of perception. I can't do that anymore, says Moses, because there's only 50 levels of binah. There are only 50 levels of insight in general, and I have already climbed 49 of those 50 rungs, and the 50th one is granted by God alone. I can't achieve any more spiritual insight, any more ethical insight, any more religious insight in this lifetime. And that's why he knew he was reaching the end of his life. But the message is a very simple and profound one, the importance of shedding preconceptions and looking at things from a fresh perspective in order to grow. Finally, chapter 31, verse 30, then Moses spoke the words of the following songs into the ears of the entire assembly of Israel until their completion. Rabbi Menachem Rekanati, the 13th and 14th century Italian Kabbalist, said as followed, a beautiful idea but a simple one. You must, when you speak to your students, you must speak into their ears until the idea's completion. It's so important to focus on whether those ideas have been received and to continue teaching, continue explaining, continue expounding until you are sure that in the ears of your students and in their minds, of course, the idea has reached completion. It's fully understood. So important, a message we learn from our original teacher, from Moses. Spiritual lesson for the week. Nitzavim, standing before God. That's what we are doing this Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of this new year of 5771. What does it mean to stand before God? To stand, obviously, not meant in a physical sense. It's meant in a metaphorical sense. What does the metaphor mean? So I'd like to suggest the following. Standing means you're not pulled, you're not swayed by the winds of change. To be anchored into some sort of value system which is unbreakable, which doesn't fluctuate with your moods, with your successes, with your failures. That's what it means to stand before God, to have values, to appreciate the present moment. To stand means you're there, you're in it, you're present in that moment, and appreciate the preciousness of the experience of that moment, the presence of God in that moment, is so crucial to our spiritual and moral development. So there's some thoughts for you to think about this Rosh Hashanah, this new year. I wish you, all of you, a very sweet and happy new year, to be inscribed for only good things for this coming year. God bless you all. Join us next year for Torah in 10.